and welcome to our sponsor spotlight featuring Greenwich Biosciences. My name is Stephanie Bema, and I serve on the board of directors for the Epilepsy Foundation of Michigan. Today, from Greenwich Biosciences, we welcome Dr. Triemstra, who is Senior Manager of Cannabinoid Education. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Triemstra.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the time to be here and a chance to talk with all of you. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Why don't we start with you briefly sharing why it is that Greenwich is involved in cannabinoid education?
Yeah, so Greenwich has been involved in researching and developing cannabinoids for medicine for over 20 years. And in that time, we've recognized that the science can be a bit confusing and that reliable science-based education resources can sometimes be scarce. And especially now with the cannabis more frequent in the news, it's very popular to be talked about. There's been a lot of misinformation as well that tends to get out there. So one of our company's goals in cannabinoid education is to make sure that there's a resource available where you or anyone with internet access can find accurate, evidence-based information on cannabis or cannabinoids.
Fantastic. So is cannabis the same as marijuana, or is it hemp? And what exactly are cannabinoids?
Yeah, no, good question. And it is a bit of a mouthful to say cannabinoid. It's true.
Cannabinoids.
Yeah. So these two terms can lead to some confusion. So we always like to just kind of level set and just demystify some of this. Cannabis includes marijuana and hemp. It's the plant. So cannabis is the plant, and it comes from the scientific term cannabis sativa L. And cannabinoids are the molecules or the chemicals that we isolate from that plant. To get more into the terms hemp and marijuana are legal terms. Hemp is a legal term for cannabis plants that are grown to have less than 0.3% THC, whereas marijuana is a legal term for cannabis plants that have more than 0.3% THC. Cannabinoids, those molecules or chemicals, they fall into three major classes. So there's endocannabinoids, and these are molecules that are produced inside your body. There's phytocannabinoids, these are molecules produced by the cannabis plant. And then synthetic cannabinoids, and these are molecules that are produced in a laboratory.
So does that mean that we naturally produce either THC or CBD inside our bodies?
Yeah, so good question. I get that question often. No, unfortunately, we do not make THC nor CBD in our own bodies. Would be great, but we don't. Endocannabinoids, these are distinct molecules made in our bodies that are discretely made and regulated for specific molecular functions. Whereas phytocannabinoids, that THC or CBD or other constituents from the plant, they'll have when ingested, they'll have a broader, less specific effect. Fun fact, endocannabinoids got their name after the discovery of where the phytocannabinoid THC binds to the body. So when they found out where THC binds, they named that receptor cannabinoid receptor. Then, knowing, well, we must have this receptor for some reason, we don't have it just because there's THC, they later discovered our own internal chemistry, and they named it endocannabinoids.
Well, I understand that both CBD and THC are extracted from the cannabis plant. Do they have the same effects?
Yeah, very common question. They actually don't. For the most part, they don't. One major difference is that CBD has a low affinity for the cannabinoid receptor and thus doesn't cause that intoxicating effect, which actually is the signature of THC on the other hand. It does adhere to that cannabinoid receptor and does have an intoxicating effect. Those are just a couple of major differences between these two molecules. But what's really interesting is that when it comes to the FDA-approved formulations, the FDA is actually approved for cannabinoid products. One is a plant-derived cannabidiol, that CBD, that's called Epidiolex. And there's actually 3 formulations of synthetic THC that are FDA-approved. It's Marinol, Syndrose, and Sesamin.
Well, could you help us better understand the difference between those products that are FDA approved and those that we can maybe just go to a dispensary or buy online?
Yeah, it can get really confusing. Like, what's the difference? I see all this stuff everywhere. So let's just take a step back and just define, what does FDA approved mean? So this means that the product has gone under a series of scientific tests and passed certain thresholds to show both safety and efficacy, as well as ability to demonstrate that this product can be made consistently batch to batch with a defined shelf life. And those products that are not FDA approved may not have all those thresholds met. So due to that, they are currently not considered federally legal. It's only FDA approved that is federally legal. Now, with the passage of the 2018 Agriculture Improvement Act, or what we call the Farm Bill, hemp, that's the cannabis that contains less than 0.3% THC, has become descheduled from the Controlled Substance Act. This descheduling has some cannabis companies thinking that they can produce these products and sell them everywhere. Now that you just go anywhere and put them in anything. But unless these products are FDA approved as either a medicine or a supplement, they're not federally legal. The FDA does oversee both medicines and supplement arms of possible production. So it's really not about the law. They're not currently federally legal. That's the law. But it's about the ability to enforce that law. So, for example, I can drive 80 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour zone. Just because everyone around me is doing it and I'm not getting pulled over either doesn't mean it's legal. It's just about it's not being enforced. So there's only so many state troopers, and there's also only so much FDA bandwidth. So we know the FDA approval process is rigorous and requires quite a bit of evidence that the medicine works and that it's relatively safe. But without FDA approval, it really is up to the consumer to be cautious about these products. Patients may feel that cannabis products are the next best option for medical care, but consumers need to make educated decisions. Thus, we have made a website called cannabinoidclinical.com, where you can take a look up your own state's regulations, including Michigan, and see what they are, and then garner information beyond these regulations. Remember, though, it's always important to talk to your healthcare provider before making any decisions about cannabis or cannabinoid products. And on our resources page on our website, we also have a downloadable cannabinoid discussion guide that can help.
That's fantastic. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us today in the epilepsy community?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for your time on talking about this. And this is a brief discussion, and it's just the beginning of your education journey. There's just so much to learn on cannabis and cannabinoids, and new information that comes out almost every day, it feels like. Cannabinoid Clinical is a resource to help you be an educated consumer, no matter where your medical journey with cannabinoids takes you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Triemstra, for your time today. We greatly appreciate it and the information on cannabinoids. I definitely think our listeners will have a better understanding now about how Greenwich Biosciences is making an impact within the epilepsy community. Have a great day.
Thank you.